Joining us is the hauler driver for the number 6, BuildSubmarines.com, Castrol Edge, and King's Hawaiian, number 6 Ford for RFK Racing. We are joined, as he's commonly known around the racetrack as Pop Top. We are joined by Scott Clodfelter here this week. Pop Top, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, man. What's going on? I'm doing well. I hope you guys are.
Doing fantastic. It's great to have you on here. Been looking forward to this conversation for a bit because it's a different perspective than just, say, a racer on. We get the guy who's behind the scenes, and to me, that's just as exciting as talking to any driver. So let's jump right into things. I do believe, according to my little research, you've been with Roush since 2003?
Actually, with Roush since 2008. I started in the NASCAR series, Busch series, back in the day in 2003, but came over to Roush in 2008 after several years over at Fitz Bradshaw Racing, and been here ever since. And hopefully, this is where I will retire.
Excellent. So, talk to us. Tell us a little bit for the listener who might not know what your role is. Take us through the week, your work week, let's say. I mean, and, what it might entail. Okay.
Well, just for example, today, I've been at the shop all day today getting the truck, the hauler ready to go to Talladega. So basically, let me back up, and we get back the first of the week from the previous trip. Of course, we just got back from Texas, so we didn't get in until late Monday afternoon. So the process begins there for the next week where we actually unload the hauler. That means get the primary race car off, the backup car that we take each week, and then all the equipment. We get that into the shop for the guys to turn the vehicles or the cars around basically for the next weekend. And usually we get a day off like on Tuesday, and I come back in on Wednesday, and we start the process again where we're loading the hauler, the 2 cars that we're taking for the upcoming race, like at Talladega this weekend. We get those loaded. All the equipment for the mechanics that we carry, from spare motors to transaxles to suspension parts to uniforms to snaps. Anything you can pretty much imagine we have on the hauler, and it's the truck driver's responsibility to be sure it's there, because you don't want to get to the racetrack without something they need. It's not a pretty scene when that happens.
Absolutely.
I got to get my mic turned on. Oh. Hey there. Sorry, Pop Top. We had the mic issue going on. You've been at Roush for a long time now, and there's been a large culture change as time has gone on through this last 15 years. How have you seen it play out from your eyes throughout the entire 15-year tenure at Roush?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good question. Yeah, when I first came there, we were on top of our game. I mean, we were winning races from the truck series level to the Xfinity, or back then Busch series, and up to the Cup level. And things change over time, and we had some things that we changed during those seasons, and we just felt like got behind maybe a little bit here and there. And when you get behind, it's hard to catch up. And we, of course, had the new owner come in, which is Brad, and join forces with our organization. And basically, he just shed a new light on everything. Not that there was anything wrong in the past, but maybe just to come into to an environment where maybe we look at some changes and look at some opportunities maybe we didn't see before with his ideas and his experience from Penske. And, of course, he owned his own truck team also, and his family's been in racing their entire life. So he has a huge background in racing. He's got good perspective, and he's got great ideas. And I think with him coming in addition to all the guys that were already with Roush Fenway at the time, we joined forces, and we turned things around, and it's great to see. I mean, like I said, I've been there a long time. We want to win every week. That's why we go to the racetrack to do is win. And it's just been great to see this happen, and we look forward to going to the racetrack every week.
So, how you doing, Pop Top? This is Paul.
Hey, man.
I was doing my research on you just because I was preparing to interview you tonight. And the one thing that amazed me is I'm watching this video of you, and you're talking about how you went to school for finance and you're working in like a suit and tie job, and then one day you decide to leave and because you like racing, and you join this team and you're driving a truck. And what made you get to that point where you just finally just threw all the care to the wind and said, let's do this?
Well, briefly, or a little bit of background, yes. Went to school, went to Western Carolina University in Western North Carolina, got a degree in business, ended up in finance when I got out of school. Worked for Trans-South Financial Corporation. You probably recognize that name based on racing back in the day. And then I worked for Wachovia Bank for years. But during that time, I was involved in racing at the local level up in Asheville, North Carolina. And the trucking end of it comes from my family because my grandfather was a truck driver and my dad was a truck driver. So I've always been interested in trucks. And, of course, I've been involved in racing and loved racing from when I was a kid. So some things changed with the banking industry back in 2003, and I had an opportunity to go to work with Andy Petrie at Andy Petrie Racing up in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and I just decided I was going to do what I wanted to do for a living, and that was drive a truck, first of all, but also for a race team, and my dreams came true with that.
So one thing that has probably changed in your role over the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, back probably pre-COVID days, the hauler driver also was the chef or cook for the team at the racetrack.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
So that's probably changed a little bit, but did you cook back in the day? And if so, what was probably your easiest or favorite thing to cook for the team?
Yes, we did cook, and we cooked a lot. That was seemed to be like the priority at the racetrack, to be honest with you. What were we going to fix for meals on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? And not only did we feed the race team during the weekend, we also fed the sponsors also at the racetrack on Sundays on race day. So it did take a lot of time and energy, and not that I was a cook at the time, but I did learn a lot of menus and different foods to fix that were somewhat quick, but also very tasty and that the guys would like. But probably my best meal, believe it or not, that I liked, and most of the guys would always like, was smash burgers, where basically it's a simple taking a lot of hamburger meat, flattening it out, and putting it in the bread and the grease and the cheese all together and wrapping them up in foil, and those guys would eat that stuff up. But yeah, we that was one of my favorite meals and the easiest meals to cook, I guess you could say. But we had a wide variety of meals because we would eat healthy meals also. So yeah, I don't miss the cooking days, but it is part of my history with the race team for sure. Now
you are more or less kind of running back and forth from the hauler out, during qualifying and whatnot to make sure that Brad or whatever drive. I mean, obviously you work with Brad, but you're running out to make sure everything's set with the car nowadays, more or less, correct?
Yeah, pretty much my role now is when we get unloaded, I stay with the car and the guys in the garage until we get through tech. And what that means is we take the car through 3 or 4 different areas of the NASCAR tech process, and we have to take equipment with us like jack stands and that sort of stuff and different kind of tools. So that's part of my job is to stay with those guys, get them what they need, and be sure they have it, and then get it back to the garage for when we need it over there. And during practice or qualifying, I'm basically doing the same thing out on pit road, just providing them with the tools and equipment they need, being sure it's there, and being sure we get it back to the truck or the garage before the race or after qualifying. So yes, do a lot of walking during the weekend. I also run tires during the race. So in other words, whenever tires come off the car and they go back to Goodyear, I take those back to Goodyear and come back and help the pit crew from behind the wall scene during race day.
Now you've put a lot of miles on the road. And me and Miles just had a long trip from Massachusetts to Bristol, and boy, were there some bad drivers. Now you got to tell me which state or part of the country gives you the most heck when you're on the road.
Oh my goodness, that's tough. It's bad in a lot of places, but I'm going to tell you, and don't take this wrong, but when we sort of go up in the northern part of
He's
the
going to
United
say
States, I don't know what it is. You guys are pretty aggressive, and that's okay. It's okay. But Washington, D.C., I'd say is the worst.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Oh, that was a curveball right there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So bailed out on that one pretty good, right?
Yeah, that was good. More important, Ben brought up drivers, but let's talk about roughly how many miles a year do you put on the hauler, and is it the same cab you use every week, or do you have two?
No, we take the same truck each week unless there's a problem, and we hope that never happens where we have to take a different tractor, because we do have several tractors at our disposal at the shop in the event that we wouldn't need one. But no, we take the same truck each week. And if there's truck drivers out there listening, when I tell you how many miles we drive, you're going to say, hey, that's nothing, because we only do roughly 50 to 55,000 miles a year, whereas a trucker over the road probably does upwards of 1 million. You know what I'm saying? So it's we just don't do the kind of miles, and I was a little high on the million part, but we don't do the miles that like these guys that do it every day. We go from point A to point B, and then we're at the racetrack for 3 days, and then we drive back to the shop, and we're at the shop for 2 days. So we just don't drive as much as the over the road guys do.
And there's a couple of trips in there, I'm sure, that you don't come back home. I remember being at Texas a couple of years ago, and towards the end of the season, and the haulers came out, brought next week's cars, and you guys went from Texas to Phoenix. So that's...
Yeah, right. Yeah, and at the beginning of the year, we do that when we do the West Coast swing. We do go out to L.A. for the Clash, and then we come back to Daytona. But when we go back for the next 3 races, which in the past were Vegas, Phoenix, and Fontana, we would stay out, and we had trucks, shuttle cars, and equipment back and forth to us for those 3 weeks, where we did not have to make those trips back every week. You can do it, but it's you're on the road constant for those 3 weeks. So it's a little more user friendly for us guys to stay out west and get a couple days off. Well, you can say you're off; you're actually still at work, but maybe a little downtime, let's just put it that way, from the driving part.
So going back to the old days when you used to cook, and that's like a team building thing. So do you guys as a team still do things together when you're away? So you kind of just keep the camaraderie up between everybody.
Yeah, it just depends on the schedules each week. It's sort of hard because they're so condensed now that we don't have a lot of downtime away from the racetrack to do things like that. But we have team dinners. For example, we did one up in Indianapolis, and so that's always good times, and everybody gets together and hang out for a little bit and away from the race cars and the racetrack and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, our groups are pretty tight, and everybody just has a good time with each other if we're at the racetrack or at the hotel or whatever we're doing. So yeah, we do that from time to time.
So one other little follow-up question I had. What is the biggest or most expensive thing you guys forgot? Because I know you guys have forgot something and left it at the track. I do it.
Oh my goodness! You couldn't get in trouble here.
Well, it could be someone else. It doesn't have to be you.
Or transmission or anything like that, but maybe one of our tents. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but we carry several tents with us to put up in weather conditions and so forth. But the tent, they're $1,200, $1,500 a piece. So we have been known to leave those from time to time by accident.
So some fan has a Brad Keselowski fence in his backyard right now, right?
Yeah, they got Roush Fenway Keselowski on there. Now, I'll tell you what, the one we did leave one in Chicago, but we did it on purpose because of the rain, as you remember, had up there. It was pretty bad, and we lost one up there, and it was not worth saving. So we left it on the side of the road, basically, because we were racing a road course, and somebody probably got them a good little souvenir there because it did have the cover on it. It said RFK on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the probably one of the toughest questions of all. When do you think you'll be back in victory lane? And if so, which racetrack are you eyeing this season?
That's an easy question. This weekend at Talladega.
I love it.
There we go.
I really am confident with that. We've had some good opportunities this year, and we've missed out on those opportunities, but I mean, you never know what can happen at Talladega, but we got a good car there, and I think Brad's won there 6 times. He's the winningest driver that is currently racing right now in the NASCAR Cup Series. So, the odds are in our favor. And we proved the last 2 years since he's been driving our car that we're pretty good at these speedways. So let's just tune in and check it out, and hopefully I can prove us right there.
There we go. So you hit the road, I would assume, tomorrow or Friday, correct?
Yeah, the truck will leave tomorrow sometime, maybe tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night, and we'll go down and check in on Friday. Basically, we park on Friday evening, Friday afternoon, and unload the equipment. We don't unload the cars until Saturday when the guys come in. But it's a condensed schedule this week because we don't practice. We just qualify. So we basically run 2 laps and get ready to race the next day.
Excellent. So we've been speaking with the hauler driver for the number 6 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Ford Mustang. Pop Top, we've appreciated the time with you, and we will catch you at a racetrack down the road soon enough. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. I enjoyed it. You guys have a good evening, and thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.